We live in a world that constantly provokes us, through people, through opinions, through the endless noise of the outer world. But I ask you this: what if the real battlefield is not out there, but within? What if the true enemy is not the person who triggered you, but your inability to stay rooted in yourself? To stop reacting to everything is not to become indifferent, it is to become whole, it is to be free. And in this freedom lies calm, power, and purpose. Let us begin the inward journey. When something or someone triggers you, it is not merely an external event disturbing your peace, it is a mirror reflecting something unresolved within you. These reactions are not random, they are deeply connected to your personal history, often rooted in childhood wounds, repressed emotions, or forgotten experiences that were never fully processed. A harsh word might evoke shame because you were often criticized growing up. Being ignored might provoke rage because, as a child, your needs were dismissed. The discomfort isn't just about what's happening now. It's about what it reminds you of, whether consciously or unconsciously. Carl Jung believed that our shadow, the unconscious part of our psyche, contains aspects of ourselves we have denied or disowned. Triggers are like alarm bells from this shadow, calling our attention to those parts we've left in the dark. They are invitations to self-discovery. They are signposts pointing toward the work that still needs to be done. Instead of asking, "Why did they make me feel this way?" begin asking, "What is this feeling trying to show me about myself?" When you feel reactive, pause and look inward. What old story is being replayed? What unmet need is being stirred? Every emotional trigger is an opportunity to heal a forgotten fragment of your psyche. The more you explore them, the less power they have over you. What once made you flinch can become what makes you wise. To know your triggers is not to indulge them, it is to integrate them. It is to become a fuller, calmer, more conscious human being. When something provokes you, an insult, a disappointment, a moment of disrespect, the automatic impulse is to react, to speak back sharply, to defend yourself, to assert control. This is the conditioned self at work, moving reflexively, not reflectively. But between that stimulus and your reaction, there exists a brief and powerful space. It is subtle, almost invisible, yet within it lies your greatest power, the freedom to choose. That pause, though often overlooked, is the very moment where consciousness can be born. It is the difference between being a puppet of your emotions and being a sovereign being rooted in awareness. When you pause, you interrupt the habitual patterns of your psyche. You step out of the storm and become the witness of it. You give yourself the space to ask, is this reaction truly mine, or is it just an echo from my past? Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are beyond masks and roles. And individuation requires this space. Without it, you remain bound to automatic patterns, repeating cycles you don't even understand. But with awareness in that pause, you begin to respond not from your wounds, but from your wisdom. This pause doesn't have to be long. A breath, a moment of stillness, a glance inward. That is all it takes to stop the spiral of reaction and ground yourself in intentional response. Over time, this gap expands. What used to trigger you into chaos becomes an opportunity to remain rooted, clear, and composed. You are not your first thought. You are not your fleeting emotion. You are the presence behind both. And in that presence, peace is possible. In the pause, you don't lose power, you reclaim it. The mind by its nature is a restless wanderer. It drifts into the past, revisiting old regrets, reliving painful memories, replaying conversations that can no longer be changed. Or it races into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, creating anxiety over things that haven't yet, and may never, happen. This constant time traveling is the root of much of our suffering. We are rarely where we are always somewhere else. But calmness, clarity, and genuine peace are only ever available in one place, the present moment. Right here, right now. The breath entering your lungs, the ground beneath your feet, the sounds, the sensations, the stillness. The present moment is the only reality that truly exists, yet it is the one we resist the most. Carl Jung understood that psychological health depends on integration, the bringing together of all aspects of the self into conscious wholeness. But integration cannot occur when you are fragmented between what was and what might be. To anchor yourself in the present is to gather yourself. It is to become whole again. The present is not always pleasant, but it is always real. And in reality, we find the strength to deal with life as it is, not as we fear it to be. The more you return to the now, the more you realize that most of your emotional reactions come not from what's happening, but from what your mind adds to what's happening. You may feel overwhelmed, but is it the task in front of you, or the story your mind is telling you about how hard it will be? You may feel hurt, but is it the person's words, or the memory they awoke in you? When you return to the present, these illusions dissolve. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the recognition that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness observing them. And this awareness can only be accessed here, in this moment. So bring yourself back, again and again. Every time you do, you reclaim a piece of yourself lost in the noise of time. You reclaim your power, your peace, your presence. And from this grounded place, calm becomes not something you seek, it becomes who you are. We are conditioned to associate strength with control. Controlling outcomes, managing other people's behavior, asserting dominance over external circumstances. But this kind of strength is fragile. It depends entirely on things going your way, on others cooperating with your script, on life remaining predictable. The moment something defies your expectations, that strength collapses into anxiety, frustration, or anger. True strength, the kind that endures, arises not from domination of the outer world, but from mastery of the inner world. It is born in stillness, in the quiet space where nothing needs to be fixed, forced, or defended. This stillness is not passivity. It is a deep-rooted clarity, a state of unshakable composure that allows you to move through chaos without being pulled into it. Carl Jung knew that the self is not found in control, but in integration. And the integrated person does not react to everything, because they are no longer at war with themselves. Their inner conflicts have been faced and held in awareness. They no longer need to project their unresolved pain onto others or manipulate the world to feel safe. They carry their safety within. When you embody inner stillness, you don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to argue to be right. You don't need to win to feel worthy. You become a calm center in a spinning world, an anchor for yourself and for others. Consider the ocean. On the surface, waves rise and crash, whipped by wind and weather. But deep below, the ocean is still. It is not disturbed by storms above. That depth is your true nature. That stillness is your power. You cannot control people. You cannot control outcomes. But you can learn to remain steady regardless of them. This is not weakness. This is not resignation. It is the quiet courage to remain present, open, and awake, no matter what life brings. When you no longer depend on control for your peace, you become unshakable. This is the strength the world cannot give you, and therefore cannot take away. The ego is the part of us that craves approval, control, superiority, and recognition. It is obsessed with image and identity, how we are seen, how we are judged, how we measure up in the eyes of others. It constantly compares, defends, and performs, and it thrives on reaction because reaction is proof that it is still in control. But to live from the ego is to live in constant agitation. You become entangled in roles, always trying to prove your worth, whether by being right, by being admired, by being seen as strong or successful. This search for validation becomes a prison. You are no longer acting from your authentic self. You are performing for the approval of others. Carl Jung spoke of individuation as the journey to the self, the deeper, unified identity that exists beyond the mask of the ego. This journey requires you to look inward and ask, who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when I'm not trying to impress, argue, or be validated? In that question lies freedom. To transcend the ego is not to destroy it, but to recognize it for what it is, a small part of you, not the whole. The ego wants validation. The self wants truth. The ego wants to win. The self wants to understand. The ego reacts with fear. The self responds with clarity. When you stop chasing validation, you begin choosing wholeness. And wholeness means embracing every part of you, not just the polished and presentable parts, but also the flawed, the wounded, the uncertain. You become real. You stop hiding. And in that authenticity, a deep calm begins to take root. You no longer feel the need to react to every slight or prove your worth in every conflict. You are not trying to win the world. You are trying to understand yourself. That shift is powerful, because when you are no longer dependent on validation, you become self-sourced. Your peace does not fluctuate with opinions or circumstances. You are free. And this freedom doesn't make you distant. It makes you compassionate. Because when you are no longer defending your ego, you can finally see others clearly too, not as threats or competitors, but as fellow travelers, each carrying their own burdens. To transcend the ego is the beginning of inner peace. It is the path to true calm. Not the calm that comes from silence outside, but the kind that lives inside, no matter how loud the world becomes. Calm is not gifted to you by the world. It is cultivated by you in silence, in solitude, and in self-inquiry. Do not react to everything. Respond from your truth. Observe without judgment, and let the outer noise pass like clouds in the sky of your awareness. In doing so, you do not escape life, you master it. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung, let the world trigger you. It's okay. Just don't let it own you. Your calm is your revolution.